All right, in this video, I'm going to show you, here's my kind of somewhat completed vehicle that I created on shape, but I'm going to focus on the rear end of the car in this video. So if I just isolate that back end, this is what I'm going to be creating in this video right here. You can see some cutouts for the lights. I've made some little exhaust pipes, the cutout for where the wheel's going to be, and then obviously how it's going to be able to link in to the other part of the car. You'll notice on mine too, because I was going to put that fin on there, I created a couple holes for that fin to these guys up here. I've created a couple holes for that back modular thing to be able to slip into to create another design element. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go up here to the up arrow and hit the plus sign, and I'm going to create a new part studio. And that'll give me a blank area to work. Looking at the drawing, and I know some of you, when you click on the drawing tab, the drawing isn't opening up, so just make sure you have that PDF that I put on Canvas available to you to be able to open that up. You can see it's even taken a while on mine. If I zoom in on, this is the profile that I want to create. So I have 1.5 inches tall. I have 4 inches across, and then these little pieces, I have the octagon or the hexagon on the left side, and I have the circle on the right side. They're both, the circle diameter is both 1/2 inch. The hexagon is inside of that circle, okay? You notice that they're located on the midpoint or the midline of that piece, and they are 1 inch in from the outside edge. There's also a 0.25 radius around the edges. So I kind of have those memorized. You might have to be flipping back and forth as you lay this thing out. Okay, so let's go into our part and get that set up. I'm going to do a 2D sketch. I'm going to focus on the front plane. So I tapped on the front plane, and I'm going to do a center point rectangle. I'm always doing center point rectangles, and you'll see why. I use these planes as mirror planes when I have a feature flip over. So it's good to start everything on the center. So I'm going to tap with 2 fingers on the background and then click View Normal to Sketch Plane, and that'll open that up. So I've started with, let me go back, choose that center point rectangle again. It wants me to pick my plane, center point rectangle. I'll start in the center on the origin, then I'll tap out here just to give me a rectangular shape, and then I'll add my dimensions to it. I'll add my 1.5 inch dimension over here, and I will add my 4 inch dimension over there. Okay, and then I'm going to lay out those circles in the hexagon for this thing to be able to snap into. So I'm going to do a center point circle, and I'm going to hover right in there, click outside to create my circle, and dimension that circle to be 0.5 inches, and I want that circle to be, you remember if you press and hold, that will give you the precision tool. I want that to be 1 inch from the outside. Okay, now over here I want, whoops, go back to my sketch tools. I want a circumscribed polygon, this tool. Up here you will see, whoops, I have up here there's an inscribed where the polygon is on the outside of the circle. That's not the one I want. I want the one with the polygon on the inside of the circle, this one over here. I'm going to lay the center of it down right there, and I'll click on the outside, and there it says 6. If I wanted to change the number of sides, I can tap on that 6 and change it, but I don't. 6 is what I want. I'm going to create my dimension, and I'll click on the outside of that circle, and that dimension is going to also be 0.5, and the dimension to, the dimension to the center point is going to be 1 inch. All right. At this point, I want to do some extruding. So I'm going to, because I want the circle to be on the left, I'm going to extrude away from me right now. So I'm going to hit the 3D button, extrude. I'm going to click all 3 of those things. Okay, all 3 of those points, and I want to go in the opposite direction. And I want this to extrude. I don't want it to be as long as the front or the center, so I'm going to choose 2.5 inches. And here's where you're just going to have to consult your design to know if you got a long back end or a short back end. All right, and now I'm going to finish that extrusion. And if you notice, the circle and the hexagon kind of went away. So I want to turn on the eyeball for that sketch again. And I'm going to do another extrusion. I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to click on the circle. And the circle I do want to stick out away, and I want that to be 0.25 inches. I'm going to finish that extrusion. And then I'm going to hit the 3D button, extrude again. And now I'm going to click on that. And this time, instead of adding on, I want to remove, and I want to remove 0.25 inches. There we go. So now we got those that if we look at my car body, you can see that it'll snap right in line. If we notice this though, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like I need the circle to be on the right side of the vehicle and the hexagon on the left side of the vehicle. So that's going to cause me a little bit of an issue, but let's see what I can do. I could, if I wanted to, just flip that over. Now everything is upside down, but now the hexagon and the circle are on the appropriate sides to be able to snap in there. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm just going to keep that upside down at this point. I could start over and move those things, flip-flop them, but I'm just going to leave it like that. All right, so my next sketch is going to be, it's asking me to select a plane. I am going to choose this plane right here, the profile, back profile. Double tap on the background, view normal to sketch plane. Good. And I'm going to choose my spline tool, and I'm going to create kind of a curved shape to the back. So I'm going to use my precision tool to kind of pick an area back in here underneath the car. And then I'm going to kind of come up and choose an area back there. And then I'm going to kind of come over and pick an area right there. I want to cut all that off. You can change those around if you want, but I'm going to cut all that off. So in order to create a closed shape, I'm going to go grab my line tool now, and I'm going to kind of snap around to all of these points to create a closed off shape. And I'm going to finish that sketch. Okay, now I'm going to go to extrude and cut. Go to remove, get that thing visible. I'm going to choose that section and that section. And you notice it's only going back 1 inch. So I want to change it from being a blind extrusion to through all, and finish that extrusion. There we go. That changes the back end of my car a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to do another 2D sketch, or another sketch on this plane. Make sure you select the right plane. And you can, if you rotate, you can make sure that you're on the side of the car. Sometimes you get kind of lost on what plane you're actually clicking on. I'm going to double tap and view normal to sketch plane. And now I'm going to create a cutout for my tire. So I'm going to create a center point circle. The wheel is going to not be in the middle of the car. It's going to be near the bottom. It's going to be something like that. Now, if you've forgotten kind of what your dimensions are, you can go back to your initial, or I should say, if you have a partner on this thing, you're going to have to communicate with your partner. They're going to have to share their part with you. Let's see. There's the front end of my car, and you can't see any dimensions on here. So if I turn on, I'm looking for the eyeball there, that eyeball that has a circle on there. If you just click on these eyeballs, you can kind of see what sketch is associated with it. So if I turn on this eyeball, I can see that's my tire, or that's my wheel cut out. I'm going to hit the three dots next to it and say show dimensions. There we go. So this shows me that I am 1.5 inch circle on the outside, and I have a 0.4 inches from the center point to the bottom. And I remember that I made a 1/4 inch circle hole for that axle to fit into. Okay, you can find the sketch that I did that as well somewhere. I think it's that one, sketch 5. I can show dimensions on, and you'd be able to see what I used for that dimension. Okay, so let's go back and use those from my back end. So I gotta make sure I'm editing the right sketch. I can't just start clicking on things. I need to go into that sketch 3 that I was doing and edit it. Hit the dimension tool, click on the outside of the circle. Dimension tool, the outside of the circle, and that is going to be 1.5 inches. And then the other dimension I'm going to use is from there to this line. I'm going to make that 0.4. There we go. That should be at the right height. Now I'm just going to pick something that looks kind of good distance or centered on that part, the best position on that part the best way I want it. So I'm going to see what that dimension is. It is currently 0.98, which is really darn close to 1 inch. So I'm going to actually make that 1 inch just to make it a nice even number. Okay, and let's cut that out. So I'm going to finish that sketch, and I'm going to go into my 3D tool, extrude. I'm going to do a remove on that area. And I want this to go back the same depth that I had on my other part, which I remember to be. You can go back and check your partner's drawing, or if you're doing both parts, your drawing, and that is 0.75. Okay, and finish that extrusion. There we go. Now I need the axle hole cut out of there. So I'm going to do a 2D sketch, and I'm going to choose that plane. I hovered over it to select that plane in there. View normal to sketch plane. So now I'm sketching on this interior part of the circle, and I'm going to do a center point circle. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on sketch 3, or open it up so I can see where that center point is. So I just hit the eyeball so I can see where the center point is on that. And I'm going to use a tool called use. It's kind of like project geometry. And I'm going to just click on that line so that I can now use that point on this next sketch. All right, now I'm going to use my center point circle. Click, I'm going to click on there, click outside of it, and then dimension it to be 0.25. There we go. Finish the sketch. Go up to your 3D tool, extrude. Let's click on, I don't want to extrude that. So you can see where it says here one face selected. I don't want that face selected, so I'm going to delete it. And I actually want just that center part of the circle selected. All right. I don't know why it's not allowing me to actually select that. I'm going to turn my eyeball off of sketch 3 and see if that will allow me. There we go. So it was wanting to select that outside circle, so I just hit the little eye to make that sketch go away. That would allow me to see underneath it. Okay, so that's what I want to do. But I want this to be a hole. So I'm going to click the back arrow on this, and I'm going to choose this to be a remove, because my axle is going to fit in there. And I'm going to have this depth be 0.5. That's what I did on the other part as well. All right, so there we go. So now if you look over here, I have extrude 5, which is that circle, and extrude 6, which is the axle hole. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we can mirror this wheel over, or this wheel cutout to the other side. So I'm going to double tap in the background to let go of both of those tools. I'm going to click my 3D. There's two different mirrors. I'm going to 3D mirror that feature. So if you look at mirror type, I don't want to mirror the whole part. I just want to mirror features of that part. And now it's asking me which feature do I want to select. So I could hover over those things, but I know that that was extrude 6, which is that hole, and extrude 5. So I'm going to click both of those things. Now directly under there it says mirror plane. So the mirror plane I want to use, if we zoom out of here and rotate a little bit, is this one that's cutting my car right in half. That's why I started on the origin. So I'm going to select that mirror plane right there. And what you're going to see is, you're going to see those two parts pop over onto the other side of the car. I'm going to click done. So now I have kind of the shape with those cutouts on both sides. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some fillets. So I'm going to go to my 3D, I'm going to go to my fillet, and I know from my drawing again that I'm doing a fillet that is 0.25. I'm going to tap the curved, or the edges that I want to be curved. So I'm going to click that one and that one, this one, and this one more back here. All right, so now the back of your car you can leave kind of sharp like that, which that looks kind of cool, or you can round over that part as well. I think on this one I'm going to just, so if I clicked on this edge I can round over those edges as well, but in this particular, well, I'll do it. There we go. So you just click on all the edges you want to be kind of rounded over. I'll leave the top squared off and the bottom squared off. And I'm going to hit the check mark. So there's kind of the shape of my car. So the last thing that I'm going to show you is how to do some detailing on the back edge of the car. And we don't have any plane to click on to do some sketches over there. So I'm going to actually create a plane. And this is going to be a new thing for you. I'm going to hit the 3D button. And then right in the middle you'll see plane. And it says no entity selected. It wants to offset a plane from another plane. So I'm going to click this plane, and you can kind of see that it's moving in that direction. And I want to place that plane right on the back edge. And if you remember, my first extrusion was 2.5 inches. So I want this to be in the 2.5 inches. and it moved further away, but I wanted to be in the opposite direction of where it is. There. Now you can see that plane is right on the back edge of my car, which is where I want that thing to be. So I'm going to hit the check mark. Now I'm all set up to do a sketch on that back plane. View normal to sketch plane. And I'm going to create, a light fixture back here. So I'm going to kind of come down. You know what? I want to make, instead of that, let's back. Select that plane again, except this time we're going to use a line. Go view normal. Okay, so I'm going to kind of drop down a little bit. I want this thing to be kind of angled, kind of like that. Notice that I tried to make that last line, when I hit the line tool to let go of it. I wanted that last line to be straight up and down, but I kind of missed it a little bit. So I can come over here to my constraints and make that vertical, and you can see it kind of twisted itself. Okay, now here's another little trick that we can use. If I select all of these lines and then go to my sketch tools, I have a tool in here somewhere called offset, and I can bring that arrow to the inside there and tap that, double tap it, I guess, and I'm going to make that 0.05. So I created a little offset just like that. Okay, I'm going to finish that sketch and rotate it around a little bit, and now I'm going to do an extrusion on that cutout. And I could put some fillets on there if I wanted to. I can change all that, but I'm going to leave it kind of straight for right now. And I'm going to hover right over that orange part. I don't want to be doing a sketch. I want to be doing a 3D extrusion on that part. Boom, right there. So that would be adding to, and I don't want to add to, I want to actually remove on this particular one because I want to cut it out. And I'm going to say I want this to be a blind cut. Here's where I'm just going to pick some different dimensions till it looks like how I want. So instead of it being 1 inch, I'm going to say 0.5 inches. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, I need to go in the opposite direction, I believe, or click that. There we go. So now that's cut into my part. That looks like it's really too deep. So I'm going to change that to 0.25. I just want to kind of cut in just a little bit. That looks a lot better. And finish the part. Cool. And now you can see that's extrusion 7. I can flip that to the other side just like I did before. So the 3D mirror tool. And I can select extrusion 7. Oh, I don't want to mirror the part. I want to mirror the feature. I want to choose extrusion 7 as my feature, and then it wants the plane. I'm going to zoom out so I can click on that plane. And I know that, whoops, I got to click on mirror plane first. Now I can choose that plane, and there it pops up on the other side. So there's my taillights on my vehicle. Okay, using that mirror tool. The last thing that I can do on this is I can do another 2D sketch on this back plane right here, and I can add those little circles, but I'll let you kind of do that on your own. I'll show you what I did on mine, and then you can do it on yours. Is on that plane I just created 2 circles. I created 1 circle, I should say, on the left side. I extruded it towards the car. And then I mirrored that feature over to the other side. Okay, and that's that. So if we kind of check that part out again, it looks just like that. There we go. Now if I wanted to change the color of it, I can come over here to appearance and I can kind of change the color. The way that I got all of my parts to be the same color is I paid attention to what these values were, and I tapped the same number. So I hit the little keyboard to let that go down. To get that green color, I know it was 250, 150, and 0. Or the orange color, I mean. That gives me that bright orange color that I have on my cars. Okay, so you can check those things on your various parts to see what your car's actually colors are. Click on that, go to appearance, and you can see this one is R60, G200, and blue is 30, or B is 30. So that'll give you that green color if you wanted to color everything the same. That's that.